Hey, did you start working this year and you don't know how to read your W-2? Or maybe you've been working a long time and you're just still curious. Let's talk about how to read that W-2 today. Hey there, I am Alison. I am a CPA in private tax practice with Top Dog Tax and Accounting. You might see our mascot running around behind me in the house. She wants to come out and play too, but she doesn't. If I were inside, she wouldn't, so don't feel bad. So today we are talking about how to read your W-2. Whether you are new to the working world or you just are curious about it. I get a lot of questions about W-2s. There's lots of confusion about it. So if you're confused about it, don't be embarrassed or ashamed. You're not the only one. So there's lots of boxes on the W-2, and God forbid you have a W-2C. It is even more confusing. I'll do another video on how to check and see if your W-2 is correct, or at least to have a reasonable assurance that it's correct. But that is not the focus of today's video. Today's video is about reading your W-2. So there's lots of boxes there. Box 1, box 2, box 5, box 16. I probably should have had one up on in front of me to take a look at for all the boxes. Box 1 is your gross income. And the difference between gross income and that net check you get, of course, is all your pre-tax, post-tax withholding. There she is. She's so desperate. She's like, please let me out. There's pre-tax withholding. There's post-tax or pre-tax deductions, post-tax deductions, and you have state withholding, possibly if you're in a state that taxes, local withholding, possibly if you're in a locality that withholds. Did I already address federal withholding, Medi, and Social Security? So all those things are going to be added back to your net check. So what is in box 1 is not going to be the total of all your net checks for all year long. So box 1 is that gross, but box 1 and box 3 sometimes are different. Box 1, box 3, and box 5 are sometimes different, and for different reasons. So box 3 and box 5 are Social Security earnings and Medi earnings. So, and these are subject to limits, like you hit a certain threshold, which changes most every year. So I'm not going to cite it here because you might be watching this in the future and the limits have changed. So you might have some pre-tax withholdings that reduce your taxable income in box 1. So what is what you're going to report on your tax return, but it's not reduced from your Social Security earnings that they withhold Social Security on, or your Medi earnings, which they withhold Medi on, which basically pays for your retirement in theory. Hopefully it's still there when we get there. I'm not really expecting mine to still be there when I get there. But you pay into Medicare and Social Security so that you have this benefit when you retire, supposedly, which, you know, this is a political statement. I will say that, so you may not agree with this. I hear a lot of people or a lot of politicians talking about Medicare as being an entitlement. It is not what I would consider an entitlement. An entitlement is something that you don't pay into but you get. If you pay into it, that should not be classified as what that very political word, entitlement. That's, you know, you paid in your 401k and you expect to get that back, right? Right. So you're paying into that system. You're paying into the Social Security system so that you can have that when you retire, supposedly. And box 2 is your federal tax withholding. That box 2 is what we reconcile when we file your 1040. So box 3 and box 5 you may not have to deal with on your 1040 unless you earn more than that threshold. Now, if let's say that you changed employers during the year and you earned more than the Social Security threshold, you're going to have to reconcile that number out, because employer number 1 you might not have hit the cap on, but employer number 2, sometime in September maybe, you hit that threshold where you didn't have to contribute anymore to Social Security, but employer 2 doesn't know, because they don't know what employer 1 paid you already this year. Sorry, I've got that glare on my face. I'm going to try and fix that. They don't know what employer 1 paid you already in the year. So that's going to be reconciled out on your 1040. But box 2 is generally for just the federal withholding. But like I said, if you have over withholding on box 4, on box 4, that's going to be reconciled out too. So it's important that you key that information in properly. Then we have your state boxes, which if you have state income tax, or we'll just start there. If you had state income tax, you're going to have state withholding, and that's what they calculate your apportionment to that state, which if you have 2 states or more states, let's say you moved, or as happened in 2020, maybe you didn't move, but you no longer had to go into the office, and that was in a separate state, and so now you have 2 states on there. Or like for a lot of like traveling nurses or linemen or people that sports, we have sports people that are I'm not a sports person, so when the sports athletes, that's what they're called, professional athletes that are our client base, maybe that's why they like to come to us, because we don't get starstruck with them because we don't know who they are, but they have withholding in all these different states where they play a game, and so your employer is allocating, hi bird, your employer is allocating a portion of your income and saying, you made this much in that state, you made this much in that state, you made this much in that state, and withholding appropriately. So that is how you read your W-2. Oh, I should cover box 14. Box 14, that is an important box that you might want to check against, and we'll cover that in the W-2 video. Or not the W-2, the checking your W-2 video to your last paycheck. I was distracted by that bird. Forgive me. It just like came right up. I thought it was a hummingbird. It came so close to me. I apologize for the distraction. It was lovely. But box 14 has codes like A, B, C, D. And if you Google box 14A or box 14W, it'll tell you, oh, that means HSA. That's how much your employer withheld from your gross for your HSA contribution. Interesting to know, and want to make sure that matches what you agreed with on your paycheck. So that covers most of the important stuff, the highlights on taking a look at your W-2. If this content was helpful, useful, informative, educational, entertaining, as I get distracted by things that flutter by, please do like, subscribe, share this content with others so that YouTube pushes it out to more people. Thank you. Have a great day.